After a 5-7 season, Virginia is bringing in Chandler Morris, quarterback transfer from North Texas, to try and hopefully get this team over the 6-win mark and back to a bowl game. Taking a look at their schedule, got a couple difficult games on here. The majority of them are on the road with trips to NC State, Louisville, North Carolina, and Duke, as well as a couple ones at home. You got Florida State and Virginia Tech as tricky matchups to watch out for there. 7 games at home, 5 on the road, and an overall schedule difficulty of 5 out of 10.
Season starts off against Coastal Carolina. A couple years ago, Coastal Carolina was one of the hottest teams in college football because they had one or two really good years where they actually were ranked in the top 25. Those years are behind them, though. Virginia should be the favorites in this one, especially at home. But Coastal Carolina is still one of the better group of five teams out there. So 95% chance for the Cavaliers to get the win here. Following week, they have a very early ACC matchup, this time against NC State on the road. NC State had very lofty expectations last year, some people thinking they can compete for an ACC title, and they fell well short of those expectations, but they're looking like they have a solid team going into next year that can get back to those higher expectations. I don't know if they're necessarily going to compete for the ACC title, but they're definitely going to be a lot more competitive and just an overall better team compared to last season. I think this Virginia team, especially with it being on the road, it's going to be a little outclassed. It's going to be a different type of offense for this Virginia team. They're losing a lot of their receiver room to either the NFL draft or to the transfer portal. And the bulk of their offense was their quarterback last year, who transferred out both with his arm and through his legs. He was their third leading rusher and did have significant amount of carries. Chandler Morris is not that dual threat kind of guy, so it's going to be an interesting shift in offensive capabilities. But I do think at the end of the day, NC State is going to be the favorite in this one at home. So 30% chance for the Cavaliers here. William Mary the next week, 100% chance. Moving on.
Next up is Stanford, and that's going to be a long road trip for the Cardinal. That being said, they're also not that great of a team. I think overall, Virginia probably a little bit better, and quarterback advantage is going to go to Chandler Morris for right now. I don't think it's quite clear who Stanford's starting quarterback is going to be yet. So it's about a 60% chance here that the Cavs defend their home field. Then you got another home matchup there with Florida State, one of the trickier games they have at home this season. The Seminoles are supposed to be better than last season, which again isn't really saying much. But overall, they brought in some talent in the transfer portal, and they should be a pretty solid team. The game is also on a Friday night, which will make it a bit more of an interesting environment. Uh, and all that, we're going to go ahead and go with a 25% chance for Virginia to win. And then before their first bye week, capping off this stretch of 6 straight games, a road trip to Louisville, one of the better teams in the ACC. This is going to be a very difficult game for the Cavaliers. Tyler Shuff leaving Louisville, but they're bringing in Miller Moss from USC out of the transfer portal. And overall, Louisville should be one of the better teams in the ACC once again next season. Definitely a threat to potentially win the conference, unlike Virginia. So only a 30% chance for the Cavs to get this one heading into their first bye week.
Coming out of that bye week, they'll welcome Washington State. Cougars making yet again a massive road trip to the Atlantic coast, and they're hoping that for what seems like the third year in a row that they're going to churn out another elite quarterback that they hopefully can hold on to this time in Zevi Eckhouse. I'm sorry if I'm botching that name, but John Mateer is out. He transferred to Oklahoma and is expected to lead a very good Sooners team. But if Eckhouse can perform to a similar level that we've seen out of Washington State quarterbacks the past few years, I think Washington State is still going to be a very good team. However, Wayshawn Parker, who was their leading rusher last year outside of Mateer, is transferring to Utah. So that's going to be a huge miss for them. And just with it being such a long road trip, I think Washington State is going to have a little bit of trouble here against a Virginia team that is going to be coming off of a bye week. So a 60% chance for the Cavaliers here. Now they have two straight road games. First up is North Carolina. Big story with North Carolina. Bill Belichick is the head coach, and can his NFL success translate to the college football level? They just lost one of their leading edge rushers to the transfer portal. Bo Atkinson recently committed to Ohio State. I don't know if it's clear who their starting quarterback is yet, but hopefully that decision's made in the next couple weeks. But overall, the hype around this North Carolina team is justifiable. I think they're going to be a very successful team. I don't think they're going to quite reach the heights that a lot of people are expecting them to like win the ACC, but they'll be a force to be reckoned with. So 35% chance for this Cavaliers team on the road here. Then the following week, they'll go on the road to face Cal. Now, I will say when we did the Cal video, that was with Jaden Ott still there and before the transfer portal exodus that the Golden Bears had. So this Cal team is going to be a lot different. They still do have Devin Royal transferring in from Ohio State to compete for that starting quarterback job if it is not already his. And their secondary was one of the best in the country last year in forcing turnovers and expected to be around the same this year, even though they lost a couple of guys to the NFL draft. The big story is going to be the offensive weapons and the current just for lack of a better term, political climate surrounding Cal, because I know there's a couple boosters that are holding out because they want Ron Rivera to have more power, similar to what Andrew Luck has at Stanford. So this Cal team is going to be one to watch out for. And maybe Virginia can pull off an upset on the road here with how much is going on in this Cal team. But I think with the long road trip the Cavaliers have to take, and with being a little bit more of an inexperienced team, I think Cal will still be able to get the job done regardless of who's on the team. So a 30% chance for Virginia.
Then they head back home and face Wake Forest, one of the worst teams in the ACC last season, and expected to be about the same this year. Not really much to say about this matchup. We're going to give Virginia a 75% chance to pull off a home victory. Then it's back on the road to face the Duke Blue Devils, who, kind of similar to Washington State, keep seeming to turn out good quarterbacks. First with Riley Leonard, who transferred to Notre Dame, and then Malik Murphy, who transferred to Oregon State. So this season, hoping to do more of the same. But that being said, Duke always seems to outperform expectations. These past few seasons has been a very solid team in the ACC. And with Darian Mensah transferring in, we expect to see more success from Duke. And this one only going to be a 25% chance for Virginia on the road. Then, after their very late second bye week, only one game left in the season, and it's the rivalry matchup with Virginia Tech. Virginia has been very, very bad in this matchup over the past few decades, rarely winning this game, and we do expect that to continue this year. I think it'll be a close game, but we are leaning towards Virginia Tech in this one, even though the Cavaliers have the home field advantage. So only a 40% chance for this one.
Taking a look at the schedule as a whole, it's it's not the worst schedule in the world, and with this team, there is potential to pull off a couple upsets, but I do think that the most difficult games are their road games, and I don't see them winning very many of those tough road games. Like I was saying, Cal is potentially an upset win because of what's going on with the team, but I don't see them competing with North Carolina, Duke, and Louisville. I think Florida State is going to be a much better team compared to last season. And NC State, Coastal Carolina, maybe those teams pull off some surprises. NC State, not really a surprise as much, but I just think there's so many questions surrounding this Virginia team, and they're going to have such a like ideological shift in their offense compared to last season that it's probably going to take a couple games to figure out. So it really comes down to how they start the season with, I'm going to say those first four games and how they play against Florida State that will really determine the rest of the season. I think they might struggle a little bit. So I'm going to say they do get to a bowl game. I'm going to say 6 wins is probably where I see them. But there's so many other questions that they need to answer right now.
Yeah, I do think that it's going to be a struggle, but there's a good chance that we could see this Virginia team in a bowl game. But like Connor was just saying, these road trips are very difficult. They could maybe win the Cal game, but if you give them 4 losses in those other ones, uh, Florida State's a tough home game, Virginia Tech's a tough home game, and you have to be perfect outside of those in order to make a bowl game. If they lose to Washington State at home, then you're probably going to see another 5-7 season, which was the record last year. And our projected win total is actually just over 6 wins at 6.05. That's based off of all of the percentages from that last screen. And we are going to predict 6-6 and a return to the postseason for Virginia. The Vegas over-under is 6.5, slightly favoring the under, but Vegas is in agreement with us that Virginia will make a bowl game in 2025. So, thank you guys for watching. Please make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in our next video.